Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Identity Insights by Indicio. We have something special for you this week. Some of the Indicio team is at IIW, and I was able to catch up with them and talk a little bit about the day's events. Here are some excerpts from that conversation. Thanks for taking the time today, Mike. If you could just real quick tell me a little bit about just, what is IIW? Why is it so exciting to be there?
So IIW is the Internet Identity Workshop. It's held every 6 months in California, in Mountain View, and it's exciting because it draws the who's who of identity from all over the world, from governments, nonprofits, companies, individuals, just about anybody who's interested in identity on the internet. And most of them are professionals with years of experience, and it's really full of energy because they're all happy to see each other again. They're all kind and helpful to the new people, kind of bootstrapping a community of people interested in identity. And this year has been electric. It's the largest ever attendance for IIW. So they sold all 350 tickets, and just about everybody was there, especially in the opening circle. It was just packed.
Wow. All right, that sounds awesome. What is the opening circle, if you don't mind me going into that?
Oh, that's a great segue. So IIW is an unconference. So there's no pre-scheduled keynotes or agenda or speakers. Everyone comes, and they have an opening. The opening circle is where they have the entire room is arranged with the chairs in a gigantic circle in concentric rings of chairs, and everyone works together to create the agenda. So they have a big stack of cards in the middle of the room. You go and you say, I want to call a session. So you write your topic on the card, and then they pass the microphone around. Everyone says what they're going to present on. And then they have a big board on the wall where you go and you stick your card to a particular room and time slot. And so you get an agenda set by the attendees and the things that they are thinking about or working on or that they want to share or their questions. And so that's why it's a circle. It's there's not any one person really in charge, and everybody's equal in the sight of everyone who's at the conference. Everybody gets a chance. And so that's why I call it the opening circle, and that's how they build the agenda.
All right, that sounds super cool. Definitely an interesting way to make sure everyone gets to speak or talk about whatever they're interested in. So you would you tell me a little bit about maybe some of the more interesting sessions that you saw today?
So I had to miss the first two sessions because I had to do the hallway track, and I was working on preparing for my presentation. But I also spoke to Sam Curran, and he told me about some of the things he saw. So there was a really good session on the work for making DIDCOM version 2, getting ready for that. In particular, the work that Daniel Hardman has done for that. There was a session where Stephen Curran ran a demo where he had an agent that would issue an anon cred that was also JSON LD compliant, and he would, that way the holder agents could choose which version of the credential to present to say, I've got both. So if I have a verifier that needs one or a verifier that needs the other, it'll work. There was a session on the controversy around FTX collapsing and how sometimes being associated with crypto gives identity applications a bad name. So especially when you have down weeks with crypto, sometimes it's good to say, highlight the differences, how this is different and solves different problems. Let's see, what else? I went to a session where Danube Tech was running some statistics on all of the different networks and the different DID methods that are out there. So they shared some things that showed, they couldn't, because of the privacy preserving nature of the technology, they couldn't highlight what the activities were for, what people were doing, but they could see which networks and methods were most active. So that was really interesting to see, who's been busy, and then one last session that I attended was presented by a gentleman from the government. And his joke was, I'm from the government and I really am here to help. But he was talking about his specialty is in biometrics. and how that's important to the government, and then linking that information to your biographical information. So your biometrics are things like your 10 fingerprints, your 2 eyes, and your face, and linking that to say a list of attributes that you would find in a credential, and how the government does that. They're interested in adding biometrics and biographics, so identity, to their lists of critical infrastructure that the U.S. government tries to oversee and protect. And so that was a really interesting session.
Huh. Yeah, all that sounds definitely like something that I'd be interested to learn a little bit more about. So you said right in the opening circle you kind of schedule out the conference. Have they scheduled out the rest of the days? Do you have any sessions that you're looking forward to hearing about maybe tomorrow or the next day?
So they schedule one day at a time. There's an opening circle each day. And
Okay.
that's pretty nifty because it gives people a chance to adjust to what they heard the first day. They can kind of think about it. There's going to be a lot of conversation at dinner tonight. And then when you're done thinking about it and talking about it, the next day you can propose, follow-up or response sessions. Some people, have a series of sessions they want to present that are kind of related. So those are some of the ones that I do kind of know about in advance. So for example, the government gentleman is going to present some more sessions. So, he talked about the linkage. Tomorrow he's going to talk about ideas or proposals for how the U.S. government could move forward. And so, you get to find out tomorrow what's going to be on the agenda. But besides the government guy, I also know that I have some topics that I get to share tomorrow as well. So tomorrow we're going to do a demo of what we shared with governance technology. So we've been working with the diff to make a new spec. We created some demo code based off that spec, so we get to share the demo tomorrow. And then there's a lot of interest in, but once you create a governance file that says who's allowed to do what and who's trusted, the next step would be signing it so that people know that it came from that file came from a trusted source, and publishing it so that people can find it. So I think we're going to have a session on the different ways to sign and publish.
All right, very cool. Awesome. Well, I know, right, obviously you've had a long day at the conference, so I'll just leave you with one last question, which is I know right at these conferences, there's a lot of, side questions based on the sessions. And I was wondering if there's any interesting or new ideas that you have kind of picked up from any of those either sessions or side conversations today.
So there are a couple of different things. So one thing that I learned about is there's a new credential format that supports selective disclosure. Someone figured out how to do that with JOTs, which are JSON web tokens. So that's an exciting new development, another way to do privacy preserving technology. The interest in governance is big. My session was not the only one. There's, to date, there have been 2, and today we found out about a third competing way to handle machine readable governance. Luckily, 2 of those efforts, Trust over IP and DIF, are likely to merge, but we'll see if the third effort by Manu is going to join with us in the CCG. Let's see. So there's the new credential format. There's let's see what else is exciting. I feel like there was one other thing. Oh, so Sam has been running some conversations with all sorts of people around the conference about JSON LD credentials and context, which is a reference in the JSON LD that says, here's how you interpret the semantic meaning of the fields in this credential. And there seemed to be a contradiction in how that's described. So, for example, the specification says you're not supposed to load context at runtime. You're only supposed to do it at build time, so that you know ahead of time that you can investigate that context and make sure it's trustworthy. But at the same time, if you can only interpret a context that you load when you first start up your agent, when you first build it, then if you receive a credential that comes from a different context that you're not aware of already, then you don't know if you can trust it. You could be hoodwinked. And so that kind of competes with the JSON LD whole world model for a semantic meaning for everything. And so Sam was talking to some people about, is this true? And is it a real problem? And I think what I've heard so far is that there is a way around it, but I don't know if it's widely known. So that was another interesting topic in the halls today.
Hmm. All right, interesting. Yeah, I'd be curious to hear the follow-up on that one if
Yeah.
maybe later in a couple days. But awesome. I appreciate you taking the time to talk with us today, Mike, and hope you have an interesting dinner conversation. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks, Tim. It'll be good.
Thank you all so much for watching. If you like the content, please be sure to subscribe to the channel, and we will continue to bring you more news and interesting information from around the decentralized identity community.